Good Monday morning, everybody. I am Angie Callen, host of No More Mondays. Welcome to the show where we believe you can have a thriving life, career, and business on your terms, and I bring you guests who prove it. This episode is brought to you by The Modern Coach, my platform for helping entrepreneurs and executives create those amazing lives built around our values and our humanism. Check out more at themoderncoach.co, where you can explore your core values and lean into what is most important to you. Now let's get on with the show. Today's guest is one of those people who just makes you believe that better leadership isn't possible but necessary, especially in this time and place in the world. Chris Sprague is the CEO of Enluma Leadership Group, which is the manifestation of years of work leading transformation inside of Fortune 100 companies, where his experience showed him that it wasn't just the results that were achieved that mattered. It wasn't just the business bottom line that mattered. It was the people that he helped realize and reach new possibilities that left their mark on him. That belief that we can achieve extraordinary results in a healthy and sustainable way is driving his work now, and it's the foundation of Enluma. From why forceful leadership is outdated to why to what actually drives performance and how to modernize leadership development for the next generation. We got lots to cover. Chris, welcome to No More Mondays.
Angie, thank you so much. Really excited to be here.
We had an entire episode in the green room before we started, and so what we get into, what we recover, I was like, half of those things, I was like, darn, I kind of wish this was live right now. But we know we've got lots to talk about and lots of value for all of you out there to really think about what your leadership looks like in life, in actual traditional leadership, and in teams. You know, especially in this day and age where technology is really disrupting a lot of things and a lot of the connection that we want to have as leaders. And so, Chris, I'd love for you to just fill everybody in a little bit, because you've had a pretty interesting career path in the Fortune 100s. Abbott's on the resume, AbbVie's on the resume, and now moving into founding Enluma. What sparked this shift from corporate life to founderness?
You know, I've always had the bug to create my own company. And I've had some really bad ideas in the past that clearly they weren't good enough for a company. But, you know, what I started to realize, I had the opportunity to lead transformations in Abbott, AbbVie, and I started to see a pattern. The pattern was the ones that went really well, people weren't burnt out at the end. And actually, they usually exceeded their objectives. And it was just really interesting to me because I started to see that trend. But then also, there's one specific event. I had the opportunity to lead a turnaround for a call center. And it was a patient affordability call center. And as you can imagine, those jobs are tough because nobody calls in saying they love the price of their medicine. Nobody does. But quickly, I realized that I couldn't barely spell call center, let alone, know what was going on. But after 2 years, we led a remarkable turnaround. And yes, we reduced the budget by a lot. Our culture scores went through the roof, and each of the groups was performing really well. But what stuck with me was not the business results. But before I moved on to another role, I sat down with a few peers. And we counted the number of people that in those 2 years we helped achieve more than they thought was possible. And it was almost 40 people. And I'll tell you, like, business results change, they come and go. Yep. But that impact you can have on people, that lasts for a long. I still have people to this day. I mean, this is 7 years later. I'll see them in a store or wherever, and they're excited to see me. And I'm genuinely excited to see them. And the feedback, they'll share stories that I didn't know about of things that I did. And that's what's the rewarding part, is the impact that you have on people. That it's fantastic.
And I think it's such an important thing to remember about the word transformation in the business sense, because we hear all about organizational change management, organizational development, transformation, modernization. These are all buzzwords we put into resumes, or we think about what's the process to the transformation that the business seeks. But I think it's really important to remember that transformation is actually more about people than the process, because a process is worthless if people won't adopt it and don't feel good about it or don't feel seen by what's developed.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And it's because if the people don't trust leadership and really question the motives, you're going to be severely limited. But if the leaders are authentic, genuine, and vulnerable, say, hey, I don't know. Or, you know what? I made a mistake. I remember one time, it was during our busy season, I was actually helping out and taking calls. And I came out of my office and I'm like, oh man, that sucked.
Empathy.
Oh, and it was funny because like the people within like 10, 15 feet who weren't on phones just all started cracking up. And they were laughing. But then what happened, and I wasn't trying to build trust, but it spread. And people were like, oh, Chris is taking calls. The boss is taking calls. But yeah, I mean, if you can do that and you have that vulnerability, people will go to bat for you.
It's also there. Trust is such an important word, and I think it's probably the one of, if not the most important word in a leadership environment. And it isn't always focused on, which I think is a differentiator right off the bat.
Right.
But I think it's really interesting, the kind of trust and empathy that you create if you show you're willing to go do the thing you're asking your people to do.
Yeah.
That makes me think of, for most of you who listen regularly, we're big skiers. We live just outside of Aspen, Colorado. And our CEO of Aspen Ski Co just retired last year. But up until that point, he was famously known for, he would be at the chairlift helping. He would be a lifty for a day during the busy season at Christmas. And you'd be like, oh, hey, that was him, wasn't it? As you'd get on the chairlift and go up. And so it's just interesting. He'll stand out on a 10-degree day and load people up on a chairlift just as soon as he'll go meet with a board. Right. And it created a really interesting kind of culture in that like full circle moment, which kind of brings me to this idea, or I think something you and I agree upon, is the idea of traditional, or like, let's say old school autocratic leadership. Strong leadership is starting to die. And even if it isn't dying, it's hurting performance. So unpack that one for us.
It's interesting because, and I'm sure your viewers have seen this too, those old school command and controls, I'm slamming my hand down. Why wasn't this done? What happens is you trigger the fight or flight response in the people that work, right? And they're either going to get aggressive, which is less likely to happen because you're the boss, you control their salary, you control their raises. So they're more likely to go into the flight, right?
Yep.
And so what's going to happen is those people will do just enough. They're going to do just enough. So if Angie's the big scary boss, they're going to do just enough to make Angie happy, and they're going to do just enough so Angie goes away. And you see this all the time. And then what happens is these tough leaders think they're getting great results, but in fact, they're actually just encouraging mediocrity.
Yeah. Oh, can we talk about the word media? Sidebar, Chris. I realized years ago, my big realization around I realized years ago how much we accept mediocrity in many aspects of life and work. Today, I realized it when almost 20 years ago, I decided to take the risk and move to Colorado, and I had all these people that were like, well, I want to move to Colorado. All my ski friends were like, I'm jealous. You're doing what I'm doing. I want to move to Colorado. I'm like, I'm nobody special. You could do this too. They just chose to stay small, be risk averse, and like limit themselves. Yeah. And I think that's such an easy word, that it's such an interesting word you bring up, because I don't hear it very often. And it's one of my thoughts on like, how do we turn the tables on that mediocrity story? And from a leadership perspective, start moving more towards like healthy and sustainable leadership in the way people want today. What's your thought on that?
Yeah. It's funny because if your focus is just results, you're not going to get the best results. Mm-hmm. If you focus in on, say, hey, Angie and team, I know we're trying to do this, but what do you need to knock it out of the park? What do you need to even just exceed? Because if the boss is asking that question, one, it shows they care.
Mhm.
And two, now they're saying, hey, Angie, I want to help. I want to help you achieve better results. Because the ones that just say, did you meet it or not? Did you hit the result or not? You're in essence creating a ceiling of this is as far as people are going to go.
Yeah.
But what's cool is if you focus in on helping the people, you now create a table for them to stand on and go up.
With
And
no ceiling,
there's no
unlike what you
ceiling.
had created in the flip
No.
side.
No. And I'll tell you, I've done this a few times. We were focusing in on improving change management. And because, you think IT systems, new projects, there's always changes that happen, right? And if you don't prepare for those changes, you're setting yourself up for problems.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do is build a small team and I'd say, hey, look, you folks understand the team better than I do. We need to improve our changes and how we manage changes. In 2 weeks, come back to me with a plan of how you think we should communicate what's coming, get feedback, take it wherever you want to take it. I will tell you 19 times out of 20, they will destroy any expectations I have because they will come back with plans, things I didn't even think of.
Mm-hmm.
And all I did was say, hey, I'm going to give you control. I'm going to give you the power. Here's the expectations. Come back to me. And you do that. Oh, the results you can achieve. And because if you think if they're genuine too, if they know that you're going to give them control, they know that you're going to give them the power.
Yeah.
Oh, it is a game changer. It is such a game changer.
You have people, we've gone from mediocre, I'm going to do just enough to get this guy off my back, to I feel supported to be not only productive, but potentially even innovative. Imagine what kind of ideas come from that and the kind of retention that you get from a leadership, perspective. And we know all of that stuff hard lines back to business bottom lines.
Yeah.
It's just hard for people to see it because there's usually a step or two in between the, just like straight up number crunching.
Yep.
And I think in a nutshell, what I take from your last statement was this idea of really prioritizing inspiration over what used to be intimidation.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
And I guess my question would be, in practice, like, what does that require from a leader? Or how does somebody start shifting their styles to be intentional around that?
I honestly think what we need to do before you even become a people leader is when anyone comes in the door, level set expectations on how you partner and lead your peers. Because what happens is you and I are peers and I'm head down doing my work. You're head down doing your work. But I don't step back and say, hey, Angie, if we worked really well together, we could do this. So you and I both get promoted. Now we're people leaders. We're trying to figure out what the heck a people leader does. Because typically in a company, nobody tells you what they do.
Nope. And you have not been trained. And in a fraction of no offense to anybody out there, but I am a former engineer. So I get to say this from my own direct experience. As the former recovering engineer who loves people, most people who promote into leadership don't have those natural skills.
No.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but we don't fill that gap from a corporate or a higher executive level. So they come in without the natural skills and no clear foundation to operate on, even if they did have the natural skills.
Yeah. And if you start with that peer leadership, that will give you an indication who will be a good people leader. Because it's how do they work together? Do I come to you and say, hey, Angie, I've got a problem. I need to work on this. Or do I just say, Angie, I have to do this thing. Are you going to do this for me or not? Because then if you start with a peer, then you get to people that gives you an indication, but it has to be clear. We need to do a better job of what are the expectations for our people leaders? And then when people, if they get promoted further, they typically don't lead their peers well. Then the challenge is when you have a senior leader, you're more likely to have a bigger ego. you're more likely and look, I totally get, and I don't mean to pick on senior leaders too much, but I also know that senior leaders, your time is more precious than, say, a people leader, because you're being pulled in so many different directions. Yep. You compromise how you lead your people, you compromise how you work with your peers, and you're focused more on your fiefdom and keeping your fiefdom moving forward. But the reality
fiefdom is brings up such a good visual, by the way. Love it.
I don't know, like you can, there's all kinds of frocks and all kinds of stuff people are wearing. It's fabulous. But you know what I mean? Like, and then what happens is you have senior leaders who don't know how to play nice in the sandbox.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But day one, it should be, how do you work with your peers? That's the expectation.
Which, funny enough, should be the thing that we're taught in the sandbox when we're 3 years old. But now that's going to get into a parenting discussion, which I am not qualified, however, very opinionated about having.
Yeah. And you know, it's funny you should say that. So we have 2 kids, and I found the parallels between parenting and leading is so similar.
Yep.
You have to realize that you want first you have to ask yourself a question. Do you want the best for the people you have the opportunity to lead?
Translation, do I want best for my children, or am I going to take the selfish route?
Exactly. So, because there's people who say, I want to get the most out of my people. Yep. I want to deliver these results, versus someone who says, hey, I want to help them be their best.
Yeah.
Those are 2 different questions. And honestly, the one where you're helping them to be their best, I would say majority of the time, you're going to exceed the one who's just trying to get the most out of them.
Get the most out of them. We're going to come back to that. But before we do, I want to challenge thinking out there.
Sure.
So there's somebody out there who's going, this is all, well, they're probably not listening to this podcast, unfortunately, if they're thinking this. Let's just hope and pray they do. Somebody out there who's maybe in the generations that's used to autocratic leadership. Maybe they want to start making a change, but they think, okay, this people first stuff is all fantastic, but I'm going to sacrifice results. What would you say to them?
Give it a try. Give it a try. Try it for a month, where if you lead a team of 4 people, asking them what they need and asking them what they want to do from a growth and development perspective.
Yes. I did not prime the pumps for this, but this is like a soapbox. This is one of the 9,000 hills I'm going to die on, Chris. Yes. Tell us more about that part.
I'll tell you what. I'm sure your listeners has had the experiences. If you work for a leader who's just telling you what to do and telling you to do this, get it done, versus if you have a leader who's actively engaged in your growth and development, what happens is leader 1, you do things because you have to. Leader 2, who's engaged in your growth and development, you do things because you want to. And you don't want to let them down. They're going to bat for you. They're the ones who are encouraging your growth and development. And if there's such a different perspective there, but if you try for a month, try to see what they need. Yep. And, Michael Bungay Steiner in The Coaching Habit talks about the lazy question, which is, if you ask a direct report, the book is right there.
I even knew exactly where it was. What does that tell you all? For those of you listening audio only, I just reached back and pulled this out of my shelf almost without looking, because I know exactly where it's located.
Coaching Habit is a fabulous book. But what he talks about, the lazy question, is, how can I help? What can I do? Because no direct report's going to want your help, because there's going to be a feeling that they have failed. But if you ask for help, it shows that you care.
Yes.
So it's funny. You ask for help. You ask them what they want to do. And it's if there's anything that they need. The reality is, and if you're being genuine and sincere in this, it doesn't take that much effort. And I guarantee you try that for a month, you will be amazed at how the team turns around.
Yeah. It's pretty incredible what happens when you ask instead of assume. You will likely do less work asking because you've got the clear foundation and clear understanding, versus assuming that the soapbox I stand on is that everyone just wants to take more responsibility, make more money, and get a higher title. There are infinite other ways that someone can grow in their career. And as a leader, sitting down and showing that you, even are aware of that, and B, care enough to say to somebody, hey, what motivates you, or what are your career goals, drastically changes the dynamic, because you have seen them as a human. And I challenge all of you out there to find a time when leading as a human ever backfired, right? When has human first ever backfired?
And Angie, you raise an interesting point, and that is there is an assumption that growth means I want to be promoted.
Exactly. And that's exactly what is wrong.
Exactly.
And that's up until now. And I would say it's still the prevailing. I think there's some corporate awareness around the fact that there are you could have somebody that wants to go deeper technically. You could have somebody that wants to mentor people, but not lead them. You could have somebody that wants to get into thought leadership, right? There's all these different ways to grow. Corporate America just thinks it's dollar signs.
Yes. So this is hilarious. I saw a case study at Costco. They were talking about talent development. I forget the gentleman's name. We'll call him Dave. Dave was just knocking it out of the park. And so they're talking about talent. And they're like, oh, Dave should be promoted. Oh, Dave's awesome. He'd be a great manager. We could have this career trajectory. They go talk to Dave, and Dave just wants to run the forklift. He doesn't want to be a manager. So and I've personally seen people where they want to enhance their skills, but they don't want to lead people, and that is okay. Their growth, exactly. Their growth is putting more tools in their toolbox, not becoming a leader or moving up the ladder. And the reality, though, is you need both.
Yes, you do. And that to me goes directly back to the conversation about the training gap.
Yes.
And this person is marked as high potential. Clearly, they're going to go into the leadership track without ever the conversation happening on whether they want it or not. Now you force somebody into a position that isn't their natural disposition or skill set, nor their desire. No wonder we have gaps at that, especially at the middle management level.
Correct.
Is where I see it.
Yeah, because you put people into leadership roles that is based on their prior experience as an individual contributor.
Yep. And then you go, hey, here you go. Let's slap on this people leadership thing on top of the individual contributor role you're doing. Let's double your work.
Absolutely.
And make it a completely different function than anything you've ever done. Please note, former engineer, ask me how I know.
Well, I think we need to have an open and honest discussion about talent assessment, because historically, one of the things that we're trying to do with our tool that we're building is the ability to have data around everyone's leadership potential based on stakeholder feedback.
Yep.
Because talent discussions they're putting HR in a tough spot, because it's basically, well, Angie, what do you think of your direct report? Oh, she's great. She's wonderful. Well, what data do you have behind it? Oh, no. I just feel that she's wonderful.
Yeah.
But imagine instead if you had data about how your direct reports, all of them, lead peers, lead their direct reports, if that's multiple levels down. And then you can look at data and say, Angie's really quiet, but her scores are through the roof. Her peers love her, her direct reports love her. She's something. If we don't have data, what's going to happen is people will lead up really well.
Yep.
They're going to look like they're great, but you run the risk of their peers don't like them, and their direct reports will be excited when they leave.
And everybody out there is going, I've either worked for or had that person report to me, because those are the people that get promoted, right? Correct. I can say this because I'm a loudmouth, but the loudmouths who can't do anything oftentimes get promoted, but they're not necessarily the right position, right? Because the other skills are hidden. That kind of data keeping or let's say performance tracking actually neutralizes the personality factor in some ways, and can help with, we don't want to completely replace the gut feeling or the human connection to it, but it adds a more objective component to things.
Yes, absolutely. So we're really excited because in our book that we published in May, Lead Without Limits, we focus in on how to inspire your peers, how to inspire direct reports, how to inspire an organization. And then behind that, we've built, I wouldn't say concise, but manageable 360s. And our book is based on surveying and interviewing over 400 people. And then we also compared our results to the results of prominent literature to kind of pressure test it. But where I'm going is in our tool that we're currently building, you go through 20 statements that you score. It takes about 5 to 7 minutes. We figure most people can do that. But then you would get access to, we call it an AI micro coach, where it's very specific actions where the AI can help you to learn. We'll also have courses. And then we've also, our partner has already built AI generated development planning, where you would say, hey, maybe I'm in commercial sales today, but I'm really passionate about marketing in the future. It would show you then, hey, you should do this, then you should learn this, you should learn this, you should learn this. And there's courses that it'll have. I mean, it's really interesting. And we're really excited about what's coming because we think that this could be, it's not going to replace coaches. That's not where I'm going.
It's an enablement tool.
Exactly.
In all facets, HR, coaching, all those. And this is where, the whole intersection of AI and humanism is very, very much on my mind right now, because I'm about to go to an AI conference and talk about how to be a human, as we chatted about before we came on the air. Yeah. But this is a great example of where the two intersect in a really interesting way that AI can enhance or maybe even like point out some elements of a development or a performance plan that would have maybe not come to light otherwise. And then the humans can decide on what to do with it.
And why not? If you could have AI do small digestible coaching and you have a history of that, and then say they sign up with a coach, a live coach, and then the human coach gets visibility to all of that and says, hey, I see that you've been working on this. Let's progress that further. Let's talk about that. I think in tandem, that could be powerful. But it's still a work in progress, but we're really excited about the potential that this has. And we're trying to make this as user-friendly as possible, and also exploring that, we start with leadership, but maybe we take this to other topics later based on the model that we built.
Gotta love, as a business owner, we love scalable things.
Yes.
But at the bottom, but at the undercurrent, or let's say the common thread through all of this is it's still rooted in what you love to do, which is really help people realize what's possible, right? This
Correct.
is a tool that can enable them to see a pathway to something they may desire and think isn't possible. And so I promised a minute ago or a few minutes ago that we would come back to you really feeling like helping others achieve more than they thought possible is really what matters to you most. And these are all different mechanisms for doing that. And so I want to hear a little bit more about that impact and maybe a story that you've seen, in addition to the people in the grocery store. I would love to just hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah. In terms of the impact you can have, and with how you can really help people. I'll tell you what, there was a lady, this was the call center again. She would call insurance companies, and at the time, she and I did a one-on-one, and this was probably 2017. And she said, Chris, I'm really interested in project management. And I had run a project management office before and done some program management. And I said, okay, this is what you should do. My recommendation is go get your PMP, because PMPs are good chevrons on your shoulder. So they're the things. And then there's so many IT projects. Go ahead and get involved in IT projects. Here's the funny thing. I don't remember having this conversation. I don't remember it. But in 2022, I ran into her again. So this is 5 years later. And she was now a project manager for a larger IT system. And I thought, oh, great. She's working on this. And we're talking, and she said, Chris, I followed your advice. And I said to myself, I'm like, what advice? And she said,
I said that?
I'm like, wow, you told me to get my PMP, and I did. You told me to get involved in IT projects, and I did. And I said, that gave me the runway to now be a program manager on a large IT system. And she says, I love what I'm doing. And I thought, I don't remember the conversation in 2017, but I will never forget the conversation in 2022.
Yeah, there it is.
because that's the impact you can have. And like the hair on the back of my neck is still standing up right now. And this was 3 years ago that I talked to her. But I know that she's still doing project management. And sometimes people just need that spark.
Yep.
That spark to, hey, you can believe in yourself, or you can dream higher.
Yeah.
And if you can give that spark, you're going to have those conversations like I had times over. And it is, I'll tell you what, we all receive awards in our career. But if I asked you, Angie, like an award you got 10 years ago, can you tell me what you spent the money on?
I don't think I got an award 10 years ago, so no.
Okay. So
but no, I can't.
But if I asked you, can you name 3 people that you've helped in their career? You could probably name 3 people right now.
Yeah. One of them introduced us.
There you go.
Hi, Julie. I was going to say hi to her at some point, but right. That's the thing is, and this goes, there's a Maya Angelou quote that I think comes into play here. And it's kind of one of my favorite slides in most of my slide decks, which is people will forget what you do. People will forget what you say, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And to me, that is really what's at the core of this is you made her feel empowered to have possibilities, to have choice. And you maybe even saw something in her that she didn't see in herself. And that is the ultimate gift we can give to another human being.
If your listeners haven't already, I'm a huge fan of the book, The Art of Happiness by the Dalai Lama. And in The Art of Happiness, he talks about kind of superficial happiness. Say you have a sandwich for lunch that is fantastic. Does that sandwich still make you happy 2 days later? No. No.
Really, there's some meals that still make me happy years later, but it is the anomaly. That's for sure.
It's the anomaly.
That made me happy in a moment.
Exactly. But then if you think about helping others, if you focus on others, that contentment and fulfillment will continue with you for years. And so happiness is not about having that great meal or whatever you can think of short term. It's the focusing in on others. And, people might say, oh, this is a bunch of fluff. It actually elevates yourself and the people you work with.
It does. Yes, it does.
And if you can take that perspective, and I would argue combine it with humility. And another thing the Dalai Lama says is he's just one of the 8 billion people, and that's why he's not arrogant. If you're in a company of 500 people, you are paid not for your importance, you're paid for your responsibilities. So if you're a leader and you see yourself as just one of those 500 people, and if you're looking out for others, that is a combination as a leader that will pay dividends in spades.
Deep thoughts, Chris and Angie. However, I'm not going to go get it, but the book is up there. I think it's right around there somewhere. The Dalai Lama, Art of Happiness. And you know how I'll phrase that, and this is kind of my interpretation of it, is like happiness to me is an experience.
Yeah.
Whereas lasting happiness is where we start to really dip into joy. And I think that living a joyful life is something that we should all be aspiring to. It all looks different to us. And if we can support each other in enabling that joy, isn't that an incredible thing to say that you did?
And maybe the quick question is, on a Monday morning, would you rather get up looking to be excited about work or dreading that you have to go to work?
Well, this is a show called No More Mondays. So I know my answer, and I hope all of you out there do. That was a perfect way to wrap up a pretty amazing conversation. So I want you to go ahead and tell everybody how they continue to follow along with you and get the book, follow along into this, all of these amazing tools that you're going to roll out. How do we stay in touch with you?
So enlumagroup.com is our website. We also have on-demand courses on there where it's a hybrid between exercises you do, online sessions, and you always have coaching with us at the end. So there's always a live piece. The tool that we're building right now is our AI tool. We're going to do beta testing in October. I would say early 26, Q1 26 is when we'd have a broader launch. You can check me out on LinkedIn. Also, Enluma Group is on LinkedIn as well. And then I've got a Substack and a YouTube page as well.
Oh, I'm into Substack. We're going to connect with you there.
Yeah.
And obviously all of you out there watching here in LinkedIn land, connect with Chris for sure. He and I like to engage and clearly share perspectives on things. And I am excited to see where all of the humans still matter work that you are also doing goes. It's been an excellent conversation. Chris Sprague, thank you so much.
Yeah, Angie, thank you so much for having me. Really enjoyed it.
I want all of you out there to remember that real leadership isn't about control. It's about courage and connection and community. How many hard C's can we throw at that, baby? Healthy, sustainable leadership is not selfish. It is selfless. And we get that backwards a lot in society today. If you can help people be anti-mediocre, you will be the memorable person in their life. And you never know what possibility that will bring. And Chris, this was a great conversation to remind people of that. So all of you out there, whether you're leading a team or just trying to lead yourself through life, take a good look at where you're bringing people along with you or your own person along with you, and be honest about where you can improve. And if Chris and I can help, or you just want to share, we welcome messages. Drop comments here, leave us a note, send us a LinkedIn message. We want to hear what's working for you and what kind of leadership you want to see more in the world as we go out and do the work we're doing. Once again, Chris Sprague, thank you so much for being here and joining the No More Mondays movement.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Angie. Really appreciate you having me.
Thank you all for joining us. I am Angie Callen, and this has been another amazing, because they're all amazing, episode of No More Mondays. Big thanks to Chris for showing us what's possible when leadership starts with people. And if all of you need a little inspiration for your person to get through the middle of the week, don't forget to pick up our new mini episode, Midweek Momentum. It drops every Wednesday afternoon, right in time to help you get over the hump. In the meantime, I will catch you next week on Monday morning for another edition of No More Mondays podcast.